Before the Christmas music gets loud. Before the lights turn on. Before relatives fill the living room with laughter. Please, just pause. I want you to look around the room before the party begins. Not at the decorations. Not at the food. Not at the guests. Look at your child. The one sitting quietly on the sofa, scrolling their phone but not really watching anything. The one who practiced smiling in the mirror because they already know what's coming. Because Christmas doesn't start with joy for every child. For some kids, it starts with tension in their chest. With rehearsed answers. With fear disguised as politeness. They already know the comments. Why are you so quiet? Your cousin is doing so much better. Smile, it's Christmas. You call it harmless. They call it survival. They know who gets praised every year. They know who gets joked about. They know which parent laughs, and which one stays silent. And that silence? It teaches them something dangerous. It teaches them that love has conditions. That embarrassment is normal. That their feelings are less important than tradition. They sit there, counting minutes, waiting for it to be over. Because Christmas parties don't end when the guests leave. They continue. In the car ride home. In the quiet bedroom. In the thoughts that say, something must be wrong with me. Before you open that door, guests, ask yourself one question. Will my child feel safe tonight? Because if the answer is no, the damage won't show today. But it will show years later. And by then, it may be too late to fix. The guests arrive. Shoes pile near the door. The room fills with noise, perfume, and forced cheer. And it begins. Someone claps their hands and says, "Let's see how much everyone's grown." Your child stiffens. A relative laughs, pointing. So, still shy? Still single? Still figuring life out? Everyone laughs. Even you. Not because it's funny, but because correcting family feels uncomfortable. Your child looks down. You miss it. They push food around their plate. You don't notice. Someone compares gifts. Someone compares grades. Someone compares children like trophies on a shelf. And right there, in front of everyone, your child learns where they rank. Not by what you say, but by what you allow. They watch you carefully, waiting for you to step in. To say, enough. To change the subject. To protect them. But you don't. So they do what they've learned to do best. They disappear. Without leaving the room. They laugh softly. They nod. They say, "I'm fine." But something breaks quietly inside them. Later, you'll say, "They're so sensitive. They overthink. They should toughen up." But what you don't realize is this. Every joke at their expense becomes a memory they'll replay alone. And one day, when they stop coming to Christmas, you'll remember this night. And wonder where things went wrong. The party ends the way it always does. Plates stacked. Leftover cake wrapped in foil. Relatives hugging goodbye, saying, "What a lovely night." Your child walks to the car quietly. No complaints. No attitude. No scene. You think that means everything is fine. At home, they go straight to their room. Door closes softly. Not slammed. Not locked. That's how you know they've learned not to make noise. They sit on the bed and replay the night in their head. Every joke. Every comparison. Every moment you didn't say anything. They wonder if they're dramatic. If they're ungrateful. If this is just how families are. They open their phone, scroll past happy photos, and feel smaller with every swipe. You don't hear the quiet questions. Why am I never enough? Why does love feel like a performance? Why didn't my parent protect me? You tell yourself they'll grow out of it. But what they actually grow into is distance. They stop sharing. Stop asking. Stop expecting. They learn to handle things alone. And one day, they won't need you at all. Not because they're strong. Because they had to be. And years from now, when they live far away, call less, visit rarely, you'll think it happened suddenly. But it didn't. It started tonight. Time passes. Your child grows up. Gets older. Gets quieter. They succeed, or maybe they struggle, but either way, something stays with them. It's not the food. Not the gifts. Not the decorations. It's the feeling. They remember sitting on that couch, wishing the night would end. They remember laughing along while their chest felt tight. They remember looking at you, just once, hoping you'd notice. You probably don't remember the comment. Or who said it. Or why everyone laughed. But they do. They remember which sibling was praised. Which cousin was admired. Which child was defended. And they remember which one wasn't. As adults, they hesitate before sharing good news. Because they learned it might be compared. They downplay their pain. Because they learned it might be joked about. They become independent early. Not because you taught strength. But because they learned not to rely on anyone. At family gatherings, they sit on the edge of conversations. Polite. Distant. Present, but not really there. And one day, you'll notice it. You'll say, they're so different now. They don't open up. They don't come around much. But the truth is, they didn't change suddenly. They adapted. Tonight's like that Christmas party. Here's the part no one tells you. It's not too late. Not yet. Because your child doesn't need perfection. They don't need grand apologies in front of everyone. They don't need you to rewrite the past. They need one moment where you choose them. It could be small. When a relative makes a joke, you change the subject. When someone compares, you say, every child has their own path. When your child goes quiet, you sit beside them and ask, are you okay, really? And this time, you listen. You don't defend the joke. You don't minimize their feelings. You don't say, they didn't mean it like that. Because intention doesn't erase impact. If you laugh along, they learn they're alone. If you stay silent, they learn silence is normal. But if you speak up, they learn they matter. One day, your child will be grown. They'll choose where they spend their holidays. Who they feel safe with. Who they call when life hurts. And that choice will be shaped by moments like Christmas. So before the next party. Before the next gathering. Before the next harmless joke. Ask yourself. Am I being remembered as protection? Or as silence? Because children don't forget how you made them feel. And love, real love, shows up when it's uncomfortable. One day, it happens quietly. There's no argument. No big goodbye. No slammed door. Your child simply stops coming. They say they're busy. They say work is stressful. They say maybe next year. And you believe them. Because believing that hurts less. But what they don't say is this. They're tired of bracing themselves. Tired of shrinking to keep peace. Tired of leaving every gathering feeling smaller than when they arrived. They didn't stop loving you. They stopped feeling safe. And sometimes, years later, they finally tell the truth. Not in anger. Not in accusation. But in exhaustion. I just never felt protected. That sentence lands heavier than any fight ever could. So here's what every parent needs to hear before the next Christmas party. Your child doesn't need you to be impressive. They need you to be present. They don't need you to control the room. They need you to control your silence. They don't need you to choose them loudly. Just consistently. Sit next to them. Defend them gently but firmly. Shut down the joke that crosses the line. Say their name with pride when they're not in the room. Because long after the lights come down, after the guests forget what they said, after the jokes fade, your child will remember one thing. Did my parent protect me? Or did they watch me disappear? This Christmas, be the memory that keeps them coming back.